Lack of direct pushback against Beijing has led to expansion of CCP's United Front in Canada, think tank president. The Chinese Communist Party has rapidly expanded its United Front work system in Canada, which it leverages for political purposes, due to a lack of direct pushback against the regime, says Peter Mattis, president of U.S. think tank the Jamestown Foundation. Mattis testified on April 20 before the House of Commons Subcommittee on International Human Rights, which is currently studying the global impact of transnational repression. His testimony comes after the Jamestown Foundation released a report in February that said the Chinese Communist Party has built a global network of more than 2,000 organizations linked to its United Front system, including at least 575 such groups in Canada. Mattis told MPs at the committee meeting that the CCP's main instrument is the United Front work system, which it uses as a tool for political struggle and conflict, and to create or control social groups that can be leveraged for its political purposes. The United Front system targets civil society organizations, wealthy proxies, universities, companies, politicians, local governments, media organizations, celebrity personalities, and any other institution that might shape interactions with the CCP, Mattis noted, adding that this is a never-ending process to identify threats and ensure control of ideas that could be dangerous to the CCP. Conservative MP Shivaloy Majumdar, who is vice chair of the subcommittee, commented on Mattis's testimony, saying the United Front Work Department is deploying a swarm approach in democracies like Canada and a 24/7 political campaign that never ends and constantly looks for opportunity. The Jamestown report revealed Canada has the highest per capita density of UFWD organizations, which it said the party also uses to carry out transnational repression by monitoring, harassing, and directly attacking those it considers to be threats. Majumdar noted the density of UFWD organizations in Canada is 5 times the size of the United States and targets Uyghurs, Hong Kongers, Falun Dafa, and others in Canada. He asked Mattis what unique risk this created for North American security. I think that this kind of expansion, in terms of it being open and being accessible, is a product of a lack of direct pushback, Mattis responded. If you go back to the controversial report Project Sidewinder in the 1990s, this was sort of a speculative effort. It was a sense that something could happen. Project Sidewinder, a 1997 report by a joint task force of the RCMP and the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, investigated the collaboration between Chinese intelligence, wealthy Chinese tycoons, and criminal triad gangs in infiltrating Canada to influence business and politics. However, the report was dismissed by Canadian authorities at the time, who expressed skepticism about its findings. Mattis said the Jamestown report indicates what happens when there is no pushback, when there are no investigations, and there are no discussions about what takes place. Unless there are consequences, Beijing is running no risks whatsoever by continuing their operations, he added. Meanwhile, Senator Yuan Pao has criticized the Jamestown report, calling it disinformation that undermines Canadian democracy and promotes a modern form of Chinese exclusion. When asked by Majumdar to respond to Wu's criticism, Mattis said he views the senator's response as a kind of laziness to not look at the methodology behind the report or at the CCP. He said Canadians should be able to have conversations about the appropriate channel for engagement with organizations associated with Beijing. Subversion and control. Mattis told MPs the purpose of the United Front system is to mobilize friends to isolate or strike at enemies of the party, which he said the Chinese regime's first leader Mao Zedong was explicit about in the 1930s. Mattis noted Mao's framing of the United Front work system has been consistent and clear across all his successors, up to Xi Jinping today, characterizing United Front work as a magic weapon or talisman to facilitate China's rise in the midst of an international and ideological battleground. The UFWD is also used to support transnational repression, including surveillance and intimidation, as well as other harms, such as trying to insert itself between democratic citizens and governments so that they speak with the party's voice, he added. In addition, the CCP undermines the integrity of decision-making by influencing politicians through its UFWD, and uses United Front organizations to facilitate intelligence operations and technology transfer, Mattis said. This is an all-purpose tool for creating and applying political power while hiding the party's hands, he said. Even though some elements of the system are open to the public and are visible, the ultimate aim is still subversion and control. Asked by Liberal MP Samir Zubri to comment on the evolution of transnational repression in Canada, Mattis said there has been a steady expansion of United Front work. In early phases, it involved targeting a handful of individuals, he said, adding that it has now increasingly become an effort at mobilization, with more efforts to control, including by mobilizing groups around Canadian politicians and through Confucius Institutes on university campuses. Canada needs clear laws about what is right and what is wrong and when it is illegal, he said, adding that intelligence and police services have a responsibility to investigate and disrupt transnational repression and foreign interference activities, to ensure the behavior is not tolerated, and to provide direct consequences for such activities. The United Front system is something altogether different. It's not just a sort of people-to-people diplomacy organization. It is something that the party uses to build power, to mobilize when it needs to, Mattis said. National security threat. Marcus Kalga, senior fellow at the Ottawa-based think tank Macdonald-Laurier Institute, also testified before the subcommittee on April 20 and said Canada must treat transnational repression as a national security threat. That means ending the impunity through which foreign authoritarians and their domestic allies and enablers operate, Kalga said. Canada needs clearer reporting pathways, better coordination among police, intelligence, and government agencies, and stronger victim-centered responses, he noted. Kalga also commented on Bill C-219, a private member's bill introduced by Conservative MP James Bezin last September to extend Canada's sanctions regime to cover the immediate family members of international human rights violators and to address transnational repression. Transnational repression is not a partisan issue, nor are the solutions to it partisan, Kalga told MPs, the integrity of our democracy, and defending the right of Canadians to express themselves free of threats, free of harassment and intimidation, is not a trivial partisan issue. It affects all of us. Kalga, who has been sanctioned by both China and Russia for his efforts to expose foreign interference and transnational repression, implored all members of the subcommittee to urge their fellow MPs to support Bill C-219 to hold perpetrators of transnational repression accountable. He also noted Canada has diplomatic tools in place to hold perpetrators of mass human rights abuses to account, and has used them quite effectively in terms of Russia's crimes against Ukraine, but has not been effective in using them against Chinese regime perpetrators of mass human rights abuses. Canada should be using its diplomatic tools to demonstrate to the Chinese regime that we will not stand for these sorts of abuses and that we stand with the victims, Kalga said.